It was the mine for the souls of humankind, familiar, unfamiliar, in the silence, in the dark. There were veins of silver ore in between the roots, the blood that flows up to humanity, heavy as porphyry. Though otherwise, there was no red to be seen, and very little green. There were rocks and insubstantial woods, and a great gray cloud of a lake that hung over its deep bottom, the way a rainy sky hangs over a landscape. And shining in between meadows, the only road was gently laid, like a long pale strip of bleached fabric. And along this only road they came. In front, the man in blue, mute, impatient, looking ahead. His steps swallowed whole the pathway in big bites. His hands hung heavy, their musical skill forgotten, gripping the instrument, holding tight, falling out of the folds of blue, like a fistful of dry dead roses that once were growing, like a mirage, like a miracle, on the branches of an olive tree. And his senses were split, his gaze like a dog, running out ahead, then running back again, then ahead again, waiting at the next bend. His listening, however, remained resolutely behind, like an odor. Repeatedly, it seemed to him, it was reaching the footsteps of those two behind him who were supposed to follow him all the way back to the world of life. And then, in the next moment, he knew that he only heard the rustle of his clothing, the wind, and the echo of his own tense tread. In those moments, he told himself that they were there, and said so aloud, his voice a hollow echo, that they had to be there, though they were frightfully quiet. If he could only turn around and look, then he would surely see them, desperate enterprise. God of messages and the journey. Bright eyes shining in the shadow of his hood. His feet gliding like wings. The spiral sign held in his right hand, guiding her with his left. The man built the whole world all over again in songs. Out of grief. And everything in the world was there. Wood, valley, road, bird. And just as in that other world, in the new world, made of loss and longing, the sun and the silent stars overhead went wheeling around the grief earth in a grief sky with distorted constellations. So strongly was he attached to her. Slowly, she stepped along, restricted by her shroud, uncertain, gentle, without impatience. She was inside herself, as though in the 9th month, and thought neither of the man who went in front, nor even of life itself. She was inside herself, and her death filled her up and satisfied her like a dark, sweet fruit. She was full of her own awesome death, so new now that she couldn't comprehend it. In a new maidenhood, inviolate, her gender was locked, like the youngest blossoms after dark, and her hands had so unlearned the touch of love that even the God beside her, an infinitely gentle guide, hurt her with the faint intimacy of his contact. Already, she was not the fair-haired beauty in his songs anymore. No more was she the fragrance in the sheets, the island of refuge. No more a one and only. Already, she was loosened like glorious hair, released like falling rain, scattered like grains of wheat on the fertile ground. Already, she was a root. Suddenly, the god abruptly held her back and painfully sighed. He turned around. She couldn't comprehend it all and only slowly responded, "Who?" Far away, only a shadow against the exit light, stood somebody. His face unrecognizable. He stood and watched as the god of messages in the journey sadly turned to follow her fading form, already walking back along the pale strip of road through the meadows. Slowly, she stepped along, restricted by her shroud, uncertain, gentle, without impatience.